Hello, and welcome back to episode 4 of the Real Music Talks. Today, I've got my very first band on, Kotonic. How are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Absolutely buzzing to be here, as you can see. So do you guys want to talk me through how you met and how you formed a band to start with?
Go on, Ed. You go ahead with that one.
Wait, I mean,
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
I was gonna say.
How do we start? So, I got offered a gig at a place I used to live, just an acoustic show at a beer festival, and I thought, yeah, I can do that on my own. And then I realised that all the tickets are sold out quite quickly. Not for me, but for the beer festival. And so I think I just put on Facebook, like, I'm looking for a drummer in the area. And I already knew Lloyd, like, quite well. I just did not know that he played drums. And,
wow.
I think you called me an idiot or something on Facebook. I play drums. So then we met up, did the gig, which was interesting, wasn't it, Lloyd?
Yeah, it was your fault that it all started, really, because you say you were looking for a drummer, and I thought, oh, do you know what? I was just telling him I'm a drummer, sort of thing. And he went, oh yeah, come on then, yeah. So we went and practiced, and before we know it, 4 weeks was it? We had to do a gig, and it was a very strange gig. It was the hottest day of the year, but they put all the stage inside the village hall, so everybody was outside. Yeah. Saw us.
Empty room.
Yeah, and it was like a makeshift set, and the first thing that we did a sound check, and I hit the snare, and the woman came and was like, oh no, you're gonna have to muffle that a little bit. And I was like,
oh, that's the worst thing as a drummer. You don't want to be told that.
Too loud.
And then from then on, we just decided to carry on. Really, then we carried on as a twosome for a while. Then we thought, right, we need a bassist basically, and put an ad out. Well, not so much an ad, but a post on a page in Swindon. And that's where Ed popped up, and he came along.
That's the other thing. I'm like, oh yeah, I know Ed. So I already knew these musicians, and I just didn't think about it too much. But yeah, I think Ed and I, we met at the jazz festival, didn't we?
Yeah. We had loads of tenuous links between us, like typical like mutual friends type thing, like some of your really good mates, people I went to school with, and stuff like this. Just it's a weird small world sometimes when you're like starting a band and you get people just turn up. You're just like, you end up knowing loads more people than you think you know by like random links. So yeah, I just
my problem is we play a gig or something when I was younger, drink all the beers, and then forget that I've met these people. That's where it went wrong.
So in terms of like when you guys formed, how did you start like writing songs? Did you start like jamming? Did you do like covers for a little bit? Like how did that progress?
We hate covers. So we didn't do any covers. I think Lloyd and I went to the studio and put down, what, 2 or 3 tracks?
Yeah.
And then we had those basically to send out to, we were thinking like there's going to be loads of people who want to audition to be our bass player. And actually, Ed was perfect. We just sent him the tracks and we came to band practice and we just jammed those tracks for a bit. And that was how it all kicked off, really.
Well, for that first gig, we obviously had to we did some covers then, but we had nothing. Like you had some of the songs you already wrote. So we recorded those two songs and sent them out, not to send out to sort of people, but just to look for a bassist. And that's sort of what Ed really liked, that we were sort of our original music. So
yeah, that's what got me into it, is that it was rockier than what I usually would play. And also I wasn't a bassist when I started for you guys. I was just like, I don't remember if I did actually say this or this is just in my imagination, but I think I turned up and I was like, I don't really play bass. Like, I have it now and I can learn. And that's pretty, I just fact because I'm normally a guitarist and a singer, but I wanted to play bass. Like, and these guys, I saw their post on Facebook and I was like, that sounds awesome. I was like, I like the idea of making this noise. So I was just like, I I've got a bass. I was like, I'm gonna send him a message and see if I can just meet the requirement.
Yeah, the requirement was a very short list, trust me.
There were a few guys, wasn't there, that messaged us. We were just like, nah, you're not going to fit in.
It wasn't really about being good at bass. It was more about the right, I don't know, you wanted to make songs up. You wanted to make it up. You wanted something a bit different. I guess coming from guitar to bass made me a bit different to your standard bass player, I guess.
It definitely helps with the writing of the songs as well, I think.
Yeah, because I am not good. Like, noise.
You're all right.
Let's style it out.
So I wanted to talk to you guys like individually as well, in terms of like your musical background outside of the band, and like kind of your history in terms of other bands you've been in. What you've done. Go on, sorry, Adam. You can start.
It won't take very long with Lloyd. I'm joking, Lloyd. I'm joking.
Lloyd, do you want to go first then?
Not particularly. Well, how did it all come about? I was at school. I suppose I started music class. Then I started. I think what first thing that got me into drums is I could play the beat, because everybody would just go on the drum kit and just have a go. And I started playing Dizzy Rascal, Fix Up Look Sharp, and everybody loved it. And so I sort of went down the drum route. I thought, all right, I'm going to play some drums, and I've got a drum kit for Christmas, blah, blah, blah. I only did a couple of lessons. I didn't do many because I'm not very patient with all that sort of stuff. So I classed myself as self-taught. Got into a couple of bands with some cheesy names before that and stuff. Then I stopped playing for a while. It must have been about 9 years. Then that's when Adam put the message out. I thought, oh, right, let's try it again. So I did the whole thing of having a really nice drum kit with everything, selling it all. And then about 2 months later going, oh, I shouldn't have sold my kit. So I went and bought another one and spunked a load of money.
It's like every week Lloyd will send us a message saying, oh, look at this new shiny thing I bought for my drum kit. It's just adding and adding and adding to it.
I did try playing guitar for a little bit. So I got a guitar as well. And I couldn't play it straight away. So I soon sold that as well. So my patience is quite slim when it comes to learning stuff. But yeah, I don't really have but my music to me is sort of my sanity. So I have a very wide range of music tastes, from Bill Withers to Slipknot to ELO to Tracy Chapman to Ludovico Einaudi, like classical stuff. I'm struggling with the current pop thing with Drake and all that sort of crap. But otherwise, it's music's sort of my life really. So I sort of this band for me is the thing that's sort of not going. Something that I really enjoy and I really want to give it a good stab at. And with these two boys, it's great. So but yeah, when I was gigging before, I was under 18, so getting into some gigs was quite tough. Even though you're a part of the band, they still wanted you to be over 18 or 21. So I didn't really do much gigging before these guys.
And then if you get paid via free drinks as well, then that can be quite frustrating. I've been in that position before.
Yeah.
And it's like, here you go, like 4 free drinks vouchers for over 18 drinks only. You're like, oh, great.
Yeah, yeah. It's not the most ideal thing to do something, but I did get to play at the Charlotte with a previous band. We were called Thundercrack, weirdly, and with some great band, Pendulum have played there, Oasis have played there, so that was quite a cool experience. But other than that, it was just your standard gigging, recording, doing a few crappy gigs here and there around Leicester, actually, and a couple in Nottingham, because that's where I'm originally from. So yeah, that's about it.
Cool. Adam, do you want to go next?
First music experience I had in terms of playing an instrument, I think I was about 6, 7, and I got told I need to play a keyboard, do all the grades, that sort of thing. Similar to Lloyd, hated it. Don't like doing grades, don't like being told what to play and all this, and I was going off and trying different things. So I gave that up, and I said, well, I started listening to, I think the first album I got given was a Wheatus album. You know, the one with the blue and yellow checks on the front of it. Yeah. I thought this is pretty cool. Then I started listening to like Blink-182 and Green Day and Offspring and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, well, guitar is a theme in these bands. So I think I begged my mum. I was like, look, I will do my GCSEs and I will do revision if you please buy me a guitar at the end. And she did.
Black man.
And I haven't put it down since, really. But again, didn't do any of the grades. I found a local guitar teacher, and he was like, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Not grades. I just want to play. I want to write. I want to teach me." And that's exactly what he did. Taught me through guitar tab rather than music, which probably later in my life I regretted. But and then yeah, I could play all these songs that I was listening to. It turns out they were really easy, and I never really progressed beyond that. But then, yeah, so didn't do anything serious with music in terms of grades or education and that until later on. But I think through secondary school, I was in 4 bands. And yeah, same with you guys, like playing these gigs underage, trying to convince people that no, I am 18. It's fine. I can use these vouchers that you've given me. That was pretty fun. Like summer holidays, it's like just going up and down the country playing music, which is mainly in the metal scene, which I think made my guitaring is that a word? My guitar playing get a lot better. Played a guitarist which are way beyond my capabilities, and that was really good. And then I went to uni in London, and I didn't want to do a course that I was just going to drop out of because that's just what I probably would have done. So I thought I'll find a course which I'm interested in, and there was a songwriting course, and it was very like loosey goosey. You don't have to know any of the theory or anything like that. It's literally recording and writing and sharing ideas and learning about the industry a bit. So I did that for 3 years. Again, gigged through them. Was in another 2-3 bands. I'm going to name drop. We played the Troubadour in London, which is quite a famous venue, and the Dublin Castle as well in Camden. So that was pretty cool. And then yeah, I think I've moved to France for 2 months to do some recording with my mate I was writing a lot of songs with. Came back, had no money, had to move out of London, and then it all kind of fizzled out that band because I had to move out of London. And then the next thing came along was Kotonic. After probably a 3 or 4 year stint of not doing too much like in terms of the bands, but just messing around with guitar on my own in my room. So love it now. Yeah. Well, did before we got locked down.
Okay, Eddie, what about you?
I mean, I've got a fair history of playing, but I guess just as a bassist is really relatively recent. I've only been playing for a bass for a few years, but obviously we know before that I've got all my own stuff, and I've been playing. I started playing guitar when I was about 14, but I barely progressed from Smoke on the Water until like I was 17. Then I started playing live at open mic nights, doing my own stuff predominantly because I couldn't play anything else. So I just write stuff for myself. Played in a few covers bands as guitarist while doing my own stuff, which I still do. But as a bassist, that is much more of a new thing. As I got a bit older, I kind of quite liked the idea of playing bass. I quite like not being a front man. Quite like just chilling out. But also bass solos all the time.
All the time.
You've got quite a lot of funk inside you, haven't you? And that's why.
Yeah. That's the thing. I love bass as an instrument. I love the funky stuff because my stuff is very is quite light rock and like folky and quite I don't know, like chordy, and then I get on the bass and I could play like I like a completely different genre. So I always like funk and stuff, and I'm really influenced by Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers. Obviously, this is pretty standard for a lot of bassists of a pretty wide age group. And Geddy Lee from Rush, massively influenced by his sound and the way he plays. Nowhere near as good as either of them, but I'm channeling it in my head. But yeah, the bass. I had a crap bass that I had just hanging around that I never played for years. I've still got it and haven't sold it. And I literally, a friend of a friend knew a guy who was a relatively well-known bassist who had a signature mod, and I didn't make friends with him specifically for this, but I ended up just getting a stupidly cheap signature model bass, and I was like, well, I better learn to play bass now that I've got the gear. So and that's literally what happened. I like could play some basic stuff on bass because of the knowledge of root notes from playing guitar. And I had this bass, and I went to find a band, and then these guys turned up, and I was like, "Oh, sweet, this is perfect." So yeah, that's it's a funny one, how you play different instruments and you play them in a different way. Like even on guitar, I find like if I played an electric guitar, I'd play completely different things to if I played an acoustic guitar. And the same with different instruments. So and same with different influences, because like I say on bass, I'm much more influenced by the rockier stuff and the funkier stuff, whereas the acoustic stuff is much more gentle and reggae and stuff like that. So although reggae bass is good too, I like that.
So you guys have talked a lot about loads of different styles of music like influencing you. Would you be able to kind of like define your sound within a genre, or do you think like your music comes from sort of melding bits of these genres together?
We're all so quiet.
I just finished speaking, so I was just like, maybe I think have a chance.
We tend, with the stuff we're writing at the moment, every time we say, "Oh, we're finding our sound now," we're finding our sound. Go 4 months down the line, we're like, "Oh no, now we found our sound." Then we go down, and we're like, so we're progressing. And we have gone a bit more variant and a bit more rocky recently. And we're enjoying the more and more we play and write stuff. We're enjoying it a lot more and more, and we're quite. It is hard to, but a lot of people have said, you know, a bit like Nirvana, a bit like Foo Fighters. I'd like to sort of link ourselves to Billy Talent quite a lot because they're quite quiet in the verses than the choruses.
Riffs in there.
Yeah. So, but Adam does more of the writing, so he'd probably say where he gets his influences from.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange one because like when I think like, oh, this song sounds like something, and then we'll take to the band, we'll write it, but it'll take, I don't know, hours, like 2 weeks of practicing, like to get it where we want it to be, and then it sounds completely different in my head to what I thought it was going to sound like. For example, like a lot of like for vocals, I take a lot of inspiration. I mean, it's like a mix between Foo Fighters and Death Havana. And then it kind of molds into something else when we go into the band. But yeah, I'd say Rory hit the nail on the head really with the kind of influences that I take from. But then again, I was listening to, I was in the shower the other day, and I can't remember. The life of me, I can't remember who it is. I've got one playlist on Spotify called Great Shit, and whenever I hear a song I like it, I just put it on that playlist. I have no idea who this band is. But it came on, I was like, oh, I really like that. And then immediately that influenced me to write a song. Was it the other day I did it and I sent it to you guys? And that's kind of how, it happens. It's just something will influence you and you just pick up the guitar.
Yeah, I suppose it's quite cliche because every band that comes on, they don't really want to sound like anybody. They want to have their own sound. And I think we are quite a Kotonic sound. Like it is hard to, because if you compare yourself to somebody like Nirvana or Foo Fighters, you're setting a pretty high bar. But sometimes you have to name some bands and groups, and it is. I quite like to think we have our own sort of sound.
I think we're wider than that though, because you're naming quite a lot of quite rocky or grungy stuff, and I think we've got. In my ear, I hear Adam doing quite a lot of the like more 80s stuff and things like the Jam and stuff like that. I hear much more varied than just the grunge and the rock as well. That's what I quite like about this band is we're not entirely a rock band. Even
we are. Whenever we write a song together, I think there is that bit. I think in the back of maybe not the back of Lloyd's head, but the back of my head certainly. Don't make it too metal. Don't try and be too hard rock. Being Swindon, there's a lot of hard rock metal bands, and there's that scene, and there's that scene kind of everywhere. I don't want to get lost in that. You want to be able to gig there and not get like booed off stage, but you also want to be able to gig at like, I don't know, a Radio 1 sort of festival, something like that. We want to keep in that barrier where we can be happy, but we want to also be just a bit like it's get stuck in your head sort of song.
Yeah, we want to hit a wide audience, really, don't we? I think with our songs we do that, because when say people say what sort of music do you play, you say rock, and some people can think when they hear rock, or you say rock, they think whoa, like shouty stuff, but it's like no, we're not shouty rock, but we are sort of in the middle. Like, so it's quite nice to have that broad.
It varies song to song. Like they all have the same sort of sound. They all have big choruses. I love having a big chorus in song. But yeah, the other parts can vary. Like even we've got a little bit of what was it you said about what's the song called? I can't remember. One of the first songs Ed played with us, Fate or Faith. And he's got that like groovy bass line in the verse, and it just comes from like nowhere. Like you wouldn't expect that to come from us. So yeah, it's varied.
And can you talk me in a little bit more detail about like the songwriting process? So Adam, do you write the song, bring it to the band, and then what happens? Do the drums go next, and then the bass, and then you just sort of rewrite sections and stuff like that, or?
Yes. Anyway.
Do you tend to? Because I've found some bands I've been in, you pretty much write the song and then it's formulated, but then some other bands have been, and it's like you keep going over the song again and again to find something new to add or something new to take out, or like how does that kind of progress? Like how do the songs develop?
So yeah, in a sense, I mean Lloyd's brilliant at it. Lloyd will really listen, even when we're playing along in the rehearsal, and he either change his drums and say, actually, I think we should put this there or that there. And I'm terrible at it. I'll go, oh, sweet, song done. Next. So I think us three work together, and Ed's the same. Like when he comes in, like for example, the latest song we did, Lloyd and I worked on it for a couple of practices. Ed came in, brilliant bass line, but then we're like, actually, the vocal doesn't really work with that bass line now, but we like the bass line. So I'll go away and I'll do another vocal line. So yeah, it really depends on the song, but I would say we all have a chip in once we get together. It's never finished. I can't remember the last night. I think over lockdown, I wrote about 20 songs, sent them to the guys. I think we've got one out of it.
Yeah, funnily enough, that I think was it that song, the one you got. We were still working on. That was probably March or April, and we knew we had something there because, as you say, we do pick bits out of the song. We go, oh no, that riff you've got there, that's awesome, let's do that. And I think it was only recently where we've sort of actually put that song together. Like it has been one of our, but it has got lots of parts as well. But we do take stuff in it, and as Adam said, no song's been really finished yet, only a couple. We still tend to change practice to practice, not massively, like just
I was gonna say there's definitely 4 that are because they're recorded.
Yeah.
That's when it's finalized. When it's on the record, then that's it. Cool. So in terms of like the fact that we've had restrictions for quite a while now, what sort of challenges have you guys faced for that, and how have you kind of dealt with it?
Not hugging. We can't hug each other. That's the word.
It is sad.
Yeah, it's not. It's been really, put it politely, shit for us at the moment, because we've been going nearly 2 years now, and we played 3 gigs. Like every time we try to do something, we just get locked down. And like when we've tried, we had festivals lined up, that got cancelled. Then we had gigs in theatre. Then we managed to get one in, which was a stand-up, sit-down gig. Sorry. Which wasn't great. Then we went into lockdown. Then we tried doing this, and we tried doing a music video. Then so we've just been. As soon as we were ready to go, the country went into lockdown, basically.
I think on a positive note, we did manage to record an EP, and that was really like we squeezed that in. I think that was during summer when everything was slightly more relaxed and we were allowed to do it, and it sounds great. I'm really impressed with it. Really proud of it.
Get the photos done as well, didn't we?
Oh yeah, so yeah, I should have got it, shouldn't I? I haven't got it with me.
But yeah, like but putting it into perspective, I mean, I know it's annoying, and I know we're not really getting it. Like, I brought a load of new stuff at Christmas, and I've not been able to play them yet, use them yet, and which is really frustrating. But in perspective, like, it's nothing compared to obviously what everybody's going through. You know, I know people that have, unfortunately, there was somebody in a hospital who got caught with COVID, went into a care home, passed it on, killed 3 people. You know, that being able to play is sort of puts it into perspective of that it's not actually that bad. We can get
all right.
We can, the band can wait a little bit, but yeah, it's been shit basically.
Okay, cool. So moving on from that, obviously you've got the new EP. What's the plans for that? Is it been released? Sorry, or not?
Half release. So we've released it on CD, and it's been selling. Well, slowly, but it has been selling. And that's what Lloyd was talking about. We got a photo shoot done for that. The EP is called Dogs. Primarily, I think, what was my spiel on this? So there's dogs is a terminology that can be derogatory, or it can also mean like a term of endearment for the man's best friend, right? And that's kind of what the songs are doing. There's 2 different viewpoints of what I'm angry at the world about and what I'm not, and what's good. So yes, so to answer your question, it is out on CD. You've got to contact us via Instagram or Facebook, and we can ship it out. Other than that, because we want to wait to record a music video for a single, maybe a few singles, a few music videos, and then get out onto the Spotify and everything.
Yeah, we did it with that. The reason it's halfway is because we were going to release it on our release gig. We had a gig lined up, and obviously that got cancelled, so we decided just to hang on for a little bit. But it is out on CD.
Cool. And obviously, if all goes well, then the plan will be gigging. Fingers crossed at some point.
Gigging. Yeah.
Cool. I'm sure we're all looking forward to that. But thanks very much for your time, guys. We'll have to leave it there. Hopefully chat to you again soon. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.